Hey everyone, coming up in today's video, well you probably guessed it by the title of this video, is what it's like working with wedding photographers. So if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. My name's Nick. I run a wedding film company and also video production company here in South Wales. Probably tell by the accent that I'm not from South Wales, but I live here now. So this channel is all about me giving my experience across sort of like the business side of it all, as well as gear reviews, tech stuff, just everything that you'll come across when filming and being in video production. So, if you're a seasoned pro, you probably know exactly what I'm going to be talking about here. But if you are new to weddings, looking to get into weddings, probably one of the most anxious or nervous things that you might experience on the day is working with the photographer. So, photographers they've been at every wedding for years now. I find in South Wales, video is still quite relatively new. Every time I speak to the photographers, I do ask the question, do you work with many videographers? And sort of going back 2 years, a lot of photographers said sort of 1 in every 6 weddings they have a videographer there. Sort of towards the end of last season, sort of every wedding, the photographer did say yes, he's working with a videographer. So I'm usually, when I get to bride prep, I usually beat the photographer. Not because I'm finding it a competition and I want to get there before them, show I'm good, put them in a bad limelight, anything like that. I have the fear of missing out. I feel like I need to get to bride prep quite early. Especially in my feature films, I like to put in a fair bit of bride prep stuff. Obviously in the highlights videos, I do the classic, you've got the makeup being done all nice. But in sort of the feature, the longer film, I like to have usually a good 5 minutes of bride prep. Her interacting with the bridesmaids and, all that stuff going on. So I like to get there quite early on. So I find, especially when I was first working, that I was there before the photographer and the photographer would come in all happy, look across at me, see me with my C200 and sort of his face drop a little bit, or her face drop. But it's always, so when you first meet the photographer, it can be a little bit awkward. Because they're used to taking photographs of weddings. They're used to being the key person on the day. Because there's loads of different wedding suppliers throughout the day that you might meet. But the photographer is the one you will be working closely with. So you want to get on with them. I found sometimes the first bit can be a bit awkward, but you know what? After 10 minutes, you discuss the classic. Oh, what sort of style do you shoot? Let me know if I'm in your way. Get that all the time. And I just say, oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, same here. Yeah. I'm quite natural. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I won't get in your way, but if I am, just give me a shout. Say, oi Nick, get out of the way. So one tip is when they tell you their name, remember it, or ask the bride and groom before. I usually ask them in the meeting anyway, who's your photographer, because now I've done a couple of years filming weddings. I end up filming with photographers that I either have worked with before or I know I've seen their work as well. So the first 10 minutes can be that little bit awkward. But by the end of the day, I'm pretty much best friends with them. But I'll just backtrack a little bit. I don't go straight from the beginning to the end. So my experience with all the photographers I've worked with, I've got on really well, apart from one. Not that I still like him and he liked me. And we were filming I actually kind of knew the couple who were getting married. My wife used to live near, when she was growing up, near the bride. So they sort of booked me. This was in my early days as well. This is when I was first starting out. When I put out a Facebook post to get, because that's how I got my first clients. I just put out a massive Facebook post saying, look, getting into wedding films. Been doing video production for 10 years, but want to start doing films. So, my wife shared it. So friends of friends. So I filmed a few like friends of friends weddings, basically. So when I handed them the final DVD, I went, because they only live like 10 minutes down the road. I always hand deliver it then. They did mention about this photographer. So this photographer is quite expensive. He was about 2,000. He was just over £2,000, I think. I think it's about 2,500. So a lot of money. I liked his work, to be fair. I thought he had, this was me going back a couple of years, and I was looking at like his composition, and I was like, wow, this makes me want to sort of step up my game a little bit. And because I'm always learning as well. You guys are probably watching me to learn, but you're always learning. You would even see like big CEOs of companies, they're probably learning as well. So I always like to think of how I can improve. And that was one thing that I noticed, and that's what I take into consideration now at every wedding, is like composition. So he got a bit, not angry, he was a bit stressed. The weather wasn't great. And he was basically trying to do all the couple shots. And I'd even told him before, I say, right. So basically, as soon as I get there, do the introductions. And I always ask like the same questions. Do you mind me coming on your photo shoot? Because it is the photographer's photo shoot at the end of the day. If they say no, I would always take out the couple either before or after him. But I find it easier, let the photographer, say to the photographer, I'll go on your photo shoot, because they might have worked at the venues before, know all the nice little spots, and they usually get the couples posing, and then I'm quite natural, film it, and then if I do need anything, I usually say, let me just do that again, or give us a kiss and stuff like that. So anyway, so I already laid down the ground rules with him. So I said, it is your photo shoot, group shots. I say, always look at photographer. I'm not interested in them looking at me, blah, blah, blah. So when it came to the group shots, and, like they do, bride, groom, the dad, the mum, all like the family members, they all start looking at me. Even though the photographer's there going, no, everyone look at me. And he basically said, don't bother with him. It was something like, he did come across a little bit rude. But I didn't mind, because I had already set the ground rules of, it's your photo, like this is, you're the lead on it. I'm just getting natural stuff anyway. But I did notice the groom looked straight over at me and sort of like, give me like are you all right with that sort of look? And I don't know if because he knew it was like my first season, only done a few weddings, but now it's like that. I don't get in those situations anyway, and I'm usually saying, everyone look at, to get around this now, I say, everyone don't look at me, look at the photographer. So when you sort of say that, you're giving the instructions. Because when I was first filming weddings, I was nervous. You'll probably be the same, nervous. And I was learning a lot from the photographers, and whatever the photographer said, I was like, okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I once had a registrar tell me off saying you can only stand there. I'd probably tell them, like, I'll probably be a bit more assertive now, and, that I've done a few. So I now lead, if I have to lead and say, no, everyone look at the photographer, I will. So, just going back to this other photographer, that was the only, throughout the whole day, that was the only one time he came across a bit, not nasty, but like the groom noticed it. I did notice it, but it didn't bother me, and it was enough for the groom to sort of bring it up when I gave him his videos on USB. And it was quite interesting how he said they absolutely loved the video anyway. They messaged me as soon as they watched it. But they said I came across so professional on the day, and he gave me a great review as well on Facebook and put it on my website and stuff. I delivered the video to them. He was phoning the photographer saying, "Where's the photos?" The photographer was getting delayed. Even though he's charged like $2,500 for this, in the end, he went to the groom went to the photographer's house to pick up the photos, and he lives about a good hour away. So the groom went out of his way to go pick it up, and the photographer just opened the door, didn't even shake his hand, didn't even say hello, and just sort of handed him the photos. So you can kind of see what the personality of this photographer is, and you get that as well. I've heard horror stories of photographers saying, "No, I don't want any They put in their contract. They go, "I don't want any videographers coming on my photo shoot." And you're like, all right, but this is the time. You're just taking the couple's time away, because I then got to spend 10 minutes with them as well after you've been out. So you want them to get back to their guests, especially if you're filming a winter wedding. It could be cold out. The bride's usually wearing just the dress, so she's getting cold. And they're always like, "Yeah, I'll go out," because it's their wedding day, but they are cold at the end of the day. And you want them to spend time with their guests, because they have so many guests coming up to them, talking to them throughout the day. You want to try and be as quick as possible with them on the couple's photo shoot. So, but I've experienced great photographers get on really well. And so if you are anxious about it, just like I said, just introduce yourself. Let them know what sort of style of video you do. I've had photographers come back to me saying they were working with a couple of videographers. They were absolutely terrible. Kept getting in the photographer's shots. You're trying to not get in each other's shots. He said the couple photo shot was ridiculous. Proper right up there with the camera in their face. And it's you want to be quite subtle about things. So it can work the other way. So you might come across being an absolute idiot, knob or whatever to the photographer. So be nice, be professional, because I now have photographers recommending me to couples. I've got a couple of weddings this year that I've had recommendations from photographers, and I know that because the couples booked me and said, "Oh, our photographer Simon's recommended you. Are you available for this date?" And they've already checked out they're already on my website, because Simon's given them my website details and everything like that. So that is obviously, referrals is a great way to get more business. I know I've done other videos talking about how to get more wedding business in, but the more you do referrals, the more referrals you get, because this will be from the bride and groom themselves, family members who have seen you, other suppliers on the day as well, and obviously the one you're spending time with, because you end up having lunch and dinner with them, so you get to know them quite well, and you just want to get on. So my wedding I've got on the 15th of February is working with a photographer that I worked back in with the summer, and because I've already worked with him, I am looking forward to seeing him. I see him at all the wedding fairs I do as well. He's a bit of an older chap, but I get on really well. He's up for a laugh. And at the end of the day, weddings, they can be long. They can be 12-hour days. And And you don't want to be like miserable, not getting on with the photographer. You want to get on with them, have a laugh, and it makes the day go quicker. But if you have already seen a few of my videos, you might remember me talking about I had a double header back in November. So I had a wedding on a Friday and a Saturday. And one annoying thing I found was you have the same conversations. So you meet the photographer, you say the same things on one day, and then you say the same things the next. So it can get, if you do start experience, doing 2-3 weddings in a row, you end up having the same conversations with the photographers. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this year working with the photographers that I've already worked with. So just to sum up and just to end it here, if you are anxious or nervous, because you might be, obviously sound out of order here, but you might not be quite, have that personality, you might be quite quiet, keep yourself to yourself, and so you might feel nervous or anxious in these situations, but just be professional, be nice, don't be soft though, so, and be affirmative, and you'll have a great day getting on with the photographer. So, as usual, I hope this video's helped, especially, like I said, if you are a bit nervous about, you might have your first wedding coming up, and you don't know what to do with a photographer. Just, like I said, go along, like with their photo shoot, follow their lead if you want, and you'll learn a lot from them. You'll see how they pose couples as well. That's always when I first got into it. If I had to take a couple out on a photo shoot, I'd be like, so yeah, can you just like hug each other and like maybe going for a kiss? So they and lighting as well, using the natural light. It's great when you get photographers who use that natural light. And, I've learned, like I said, I've learned a lot from that. I'm used to, my experience has been like I'm here in the studio, I've got lights set up, using like actual lights rather than sort of the natural light and stuff like that. So, yeah, you'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. So, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.